Hey YouTube, a while back one of my subscribers asked me to make a video about canning, or at least my version thereof. So I want to start off by just showing you what you're going to need. First thing you're going to need, obviously, is a canner. I got this from Basterfield, ordered it online maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years ago, and I haven't been sorry about this. Um, Inside this thing, if I could just take off the lid, you will see first of all you get your sealing ring. All right, all of this comes with it, and on the inside you have this sort of a spacer which you place down here, and your bottles then rest on top of that, and it gets a little bit of water about that much higher than this thing is, covering the bottom. And then of course your ring goes in. It fits down here around the lid. I'll show you in a little bit, and then the lid goes on. So that's the first thing you'll need, and I'll put a link in the description below to the company where I purchased this. Then the second thing you're going to need is going to be canning jars. These are 500 milliliters. These are liter jars, and they're lids. I buy these jars from Consol in Stellenbosch, and I'll see if I can get a website or a telephone number to put in the description. And then lastly, stuff that you're going to can, the ingredients. So this is a pumpkin I bought a while back. We didn't grow this one. We didn't grow the tomatoes. We didn't grow the beet. I'm going to be doing beet as well. There you go. But we did grow these guys, and so I'm worried that we're going to end up wasting them. So I'm going to be canning all of this. The tomatoes, the same thing. I'm going to can them as well. I don't want them to go to waste. This is one that we had a sandwich and we didn't finish the whole tomato. Now the thing's just lying in the refrigerator, and the next thing you know I have to throw it away. So I don't want to do that. So here's your ingredients, and here's your equipment, and then of course you need a source of heat. Just as on a side note, when you get these in an electronic version as well, or electric version as well, but I didn't want that. If we have power failures like we have a lot of, then the electric one isn't going to be useful at all. With this, I can do this on fire, I can do this on gas, I could do this on a paraffin stove, I could do this any other way, and I could put it on an electric stove as well. So I just found the non-electric version is just worth more for me. It's just better value for money. Oh yeah, one last thing I forgot. These are the lids for your canning. I also get them from Consol, and they are single use. When you're done with them, you throw them away. They've got a compound at the bottom in here that seals the bottles, the lids, and creates a vacuum in this thing. I'll show you later on. Very often you can hold this thing by hand like this, and then the liquid inside, when it's done, then it's just lukewarm to the feel, but the liquid inside is still boiling. So once that compound's been heated and been used once, then it becomes useless and you throw it away. Unfortunately, I wish that I could find some reusable canning lids. And just to show you, here's some of the stuff that I made in previous years. Most of these were done in 2019. You see there's potatoes, there's some carrots in there. Over here I've got hake and shrimps and beet and quince jam over there. There's curried hake over here. I've done some cauliflower. Here's some onions that I made, grapefruit marmalade, and some Jerusalem artichokes, sunchokes. So these are some of the things that I made in the past, and I want to tell you, when lockdown came, this stuff was a huge relief. This really helped. It wasn't that it was difficult to get food, it was just really annoying having to stand in the line for hours. And so I had probably a year's worth of food right here in the house. Right, so I used a big guy like this for the pumpkin, and I just cut it into slices. And then I'm going to use the small little guy like this just to cut off the rind. Okay, you're also going to need a spoon to dig out the pips. Now, stupid people would throw these pips away. but you're not one of those. That's why you're watching this channel. You can use these pips in various ways. The one is you can just dry it out and roast it in the oven for a couple of minutes until they sort of turn golden, and then you can eat it as is, which is a considerably better option than throwing it away. The other one, of course, is you put this in a windowsill for a week or so until it's completely dry, and then the next spring you go and you shove these seeds into the soil, and then you're going to have probably 100 or more plants, each of them giving you 5 or 6 of those pumpkins, in which case you're probably going to need more canning jars. Alright, so the first bag of tomatoes went into this. So this is a liter bottle. You don't fill it up more than that level. You'll see they call that head space. It's about 2.5 centimeters or so. That's your head space. Now I want to add a bit of flavor to it, so I'm adding some crushed garlic and I don't know, about that much salt. Yeah, that should be enough. You can always add later on when you're eating it and it doesn't have enough salt. And I decided also just a little bit of some thyme in there. Guys, go easy on herbs if you put them in a canning jar. Oh, my fingers are all yellow from the pumpkin still. You put them in a canning jar because the flavor really accentuates. It really becomes strong after a while. Right, I decided I wanted to add something else to it. One of them is this green chili, just to make the whole thing a little lekker spicy. Oh yeah, that's gonna be great. And finally, thank you wife number 2 for the beautiful bottle. Still my best vinegar bottle. And I just want to add a little touch of like that, touch of vinegar to it. This is some of my homemade apple cider vinegar that I made a while back. I think I made a video of that, and so that's gone in there as well. Now I can just fill that up with water and seal it. Right, there you can see now I've filled it up to the headspace, as you can see there. Guys, don't overfill these bottles, these canning jars. If this thing doesn't have, let me show you the tool, doesn't have that much space above it, this is what they call an old-fashioned 1 inch. It's about 2.5 centimeters. Then everything in this jar boils out under the lid while it's in the canner. So this contraption is the traditional way of just making sure all the bubbles are out, but any old knife or even a stick would do. Maybe a spatula or something like that, back of a spoon, the handle of a spoon. You just want to get the bubbles out. Again, if you don't get the bubbles out, all of this in here is going to boil out over the top, and it's going to ruin the seal. You're going to have to redo it, and you're going to lose a lot of the goodness out of this. Right, so the instructions say that you need to put the lids in boiling water for a minute, but I honestly don't know why that is. This is the first time ever that I've done that. So you just put this ring on it, and guys, it only goes on literally that tight, finger tight. No tighter than that. Don't tighten this thing down. You'll never be able to open it again. This thing is just in place it's just there to hold the lid in place. Once you're done with this, once this is sealed, you take this ring off. Okay, so we're almost ready to get the first jar in here. I just want to show you, I'm adding 2 liters of water to this thing. Yeah, 2 liters is just nice enough. Let me just put that down. This is only about how much water you need, only like that. You see, not a whole lot. You don't fill this thing up all the way to the top with water. You only need that because, strictly speaking, the canning isn't done with water, it's done with steam. You just want the steam from this. And there the first jar is in. Okay, so I boiled the pumpkin a bit. Not because you need to have anything that's already cooked in the jars. The canner will certainly cook anything that you put in there, But you just want this to already, and I hope I boiled it for long enough. It was about 8 minutes. You want this to already have done all its shrinking, because if you put it in raw, you can do it that way, but what tends to happen then is that your pumpkin tends to sink to the bottom, and you've got like just liquid on the top and then the pumpkin at the bottom, which doesn't look so cool. You can add salt to this, you can add sugar to this, you can add cinnamon or whatever your spices are. I'm not adding anything. That gives me the freedom at the end of the day. When I open up this bottle in another year or two's time, I can decide what I want to do with it. I'm not bound to only having it as sweet, or having it in as a cinnamon flavored, or having it as a salty, savory type of thing. I can then do anything that I want to with it. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is an invaluable tool. It's a canning funnel, typically used for making jam. It just makes life much easier for you. Guys, another point, when you're done filling this thing, just give it a good shake like that so it kind of settles. Don't go squishing down on this, because you're going to turn everything, remember it's already been cooked, you're going to turn everything there in there into puree, which is maybe not what you're looking for. And then I'm taking the exact same water that I boiled the pumpkin in, and I'm just adding it now to the jar, being careful to maintain my headspace. There you go. Headspace, there you go. And again, just go down and get rid of the bubbles. If you have any air in there, it's gonna make trouble. Oops. If you have any air in there, it's gonna make trouble. It tends to expand in the canner, and then it comes boiling up over the lid here, and it makes trouble. It's not what you want. Right, there you go. It's on. Just finger tight, that's all. No tighter than that. And that's can number 2. One very important consideration is, before you put anything in these jars, you take a damp cloth and you just go around the edge. You want to clean that off completely. Make sure. Some people say, oh, it needs to be a paper towel, and you could use that, and some insist it needs to have a bit of vinegar in the water, and if that rocks your boat, you do that as well. But your chances of this thing sealing properly is dramatically increased if you use just whatever it is you're going to use. Just clean off the edge. New bottles are probably already going to be clean, but if you've used them before, like I have with these, make sure you clean the rim very clear, make it very clean. Okay, so here I have the beet. They were just cut, they were in the refrigerator for quite a long time, and I don't want them to go bad. So they started going a bit dry, and instead of adding any liquids, any salt or anything to it, I'm going to can them as they are. I'm just going to add water. Okay, the beets are in. I just added a bit of water, and you can see again, strictly observing headspace. Okay, now you put your lid on. You make sure that this vent is open, and now you can start the gas. Okay, you seal this thing all the way around. And then I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, you go. Okay, so now a couple of minutes later, you guys can see all this steam over here. Now I can close this. It's hot. And now you'll see all this steam starting to come out through that. And what you want to do is you want it for 10 minutes to blow steam continuously without there being any air that coming through. You don't want air in this thing. Air is going to mess up the whole vacuum sealing and all that, and just going to make trouble. So you'll see there's zero pressure at the moment, and up here at the red mark, that's where we want it to be, at about 103 kPa. So for now, and there's quite a strong air coming out of here. For now, we're just going to leave this, and I'll come back in a couple of minutes again. Right, so you see here where the steam is blowing. You see there's gusts of steam like that one, and then there's pieces, times that it's just clear air coming out. So you want this thing to go to the point where it's just steam coming out, and leave it like that for about 10 minutes. Okay, cool. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a fairly steady stream now of steam coming out here. The timer just went off, so it's been 10 minutes. But I don't see the steam consistently, so I'm going to give it another minute or so. Okay, so let me just go out wider a little bit. Right. I've now gotten enough steam coming out of this thing. It's been coming out for a good 10 minutes now. It's time to put on the weight. So that is closed. Alright, and now don't get your hand in front of this, because this is hot. I have a marble on top of mine because my little weight tends to jump off. And now is the time to go around here and just retighten all of this. You'll see here's some steam coming out here. I don't know if the camera is picking it up. So you just now retighten all of these. And you don't have to aim for making it super tight, guys. That's just going to damage your rubber. And there you go. You can immediately hear it, everything going quiet. And there you see let me just turn off this light. Here you can see the pressure starting to rise. Okay, we are at the right pressure now. And you'll see this thing is jiggling about very gently. I have that ring around it, that copper ring, just to prevent it from bouncing up and off, because it goes and it lies skew sometimes, and then it throws out all the pressure. And then when the moment the pressure drops, then the pressure inside starts changing, and then everything in your containers, in your canning flasks, they just boil out of the bottles. So from this point on, it's at temperature. I turn down the flame slightly. In fact, I turn the flame down to small, to its lowest setting. And now I'm going to put the timer on for 90 minutes. Right, so this has been going for an hour now, and it's looking really nice and stable. Another 30 minutes. The reason why you put it in for 90 minutes, if you're doing anything that's low in acid, for example meat, potatoes, pumpkin, things like that, is that because of the high pressure that you have here, is the inside of this can is considerably higher. The temperature is much higher than boiling point, so that kills off all the botulism spores. If you just keep it at boiling temperature, you're not going to kill off those spores. And then you're going to end up with a toxin that's gonna basically kill you. It's going to make you very sick, or it's going to kill you. So you keep it in here for 90 minutes if you do any canning of a low acid food. If it was fruit, you could just put it into some sugar syrup, and you fill this thing with water. You don't even need to really put on the lid or put on the pressure. At least you can open that thing and then boil that for a period, and that will sterilize it, and the acidity in the fruit will then kill off the botulism. Now you can fool the system a little bit by adding a splash of vinegar to things, but for example, I don't think vinegar would work very well with pumpkin. It would work very well with the tomatoes, like I did, but the tomatoes are already kind of borderline safe if you just do what they call a deep water canning. Well, this is of course pressure canning. So pressure canning is the safest form of canning that you can do. You can preserve stuff here that'll last a decade. Apparently the flavor leaves it after about 5 years or so. But you would probably be then already have started your own vegetable garden, and you would have your potatoes going, and you wouldn't have to worry about this. So when I buy a bag of potatoes and it looks like I'm not going to be able to finish it in time before it starts sprouting or going moldy, I can it. Now we've all seen these things in our grandmother's houses and we didn't know what it was meant for. Why does that tip look like that, or the one down here look like that? Well, let me show you. This is for opening canning jars. This is what you do with it. Boom. There you go. This is a mix I made about 2 years ago. These are potatoes that I canned at the same time. There you go. And so in here I've got tomatoes, and I've got, let me see, cauliflower and some carrots, and I'm about to make a stew with that for supper. I'm just going to add these two together, potatoes, and then add a bit of some nice other stuff. So anyways, back to the canning. Okay, it's been 90 minutes, an hour and a half, and now what we can do is we turn this off. Okay, flames off. Now you'll see that within a minute or two the pressure starts to drop. Whatever you do, there you go, there it starts calming down already, and the pressure is already dropping. Whatever you do, don't remove that weight just yet. Do not open this valve. If you do that, you're going to have to redo everything, because the pressure will escape. The insides of the pots will start boiling at a tremendous rate, and it will boil all the contents out from underneath the seals, where the result is that the seals won't seal, or the lids won't seal. There you can see it's really going down a little bit. Cool. You leave this now for maybe an hour or so. You don't touch this thing. You don't touch it before that dial reads 0. Don't touch it, guys. That's really important. Okay, this is about almost half an hour or so later. You can see the pressure is dropping nicely. Okay, an hour later, and the pressure has dropped to 0. Now you can take off this thing. And you can open this and leave it for a while longer just to start cooling down. Alright, and then let's take it out. Oh dear. And just to show you, they nicely dented in these lids, and the way that you can see immediately that there's been a vacuum is that it's still boiling on the inside. Look at that. And check it over here as well. Even though they're outside of the canner. Now here's one of the ways that you know that your pressure can product has actually sealed. You will notice I'm holding this in my hand and it's still boiling. That is because of the pressure differential. So that's one of the ways. The other one, of course, is the lid itself on top is hollow. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, remember to like and subscribe. Bye.